Hi everyone, my name is Rachel. I use she, her pronouns. I grew up in Orange County, California, and I was like, sorry. I went to my undergrad at Cal State Beach, um, and I'm kind of just interested in it all. I initially went into the field, thinking kids, just because I've been a nanny for so long, but I've also volunteered in hospital, so I'm really interested in that area too. Um, in Franklin, but I'm also working at the young child clinic right now, so also looking. Hi everyone, my name is also Ellie. I use she, her pronouns. I'm from San Diego, California, born and raised there, and I also went to my undergrad at Cal State San Marcos. But oh yeah, what you want? I've spent a lot of time in a hospital setting. So that is a huge peak in my interest. But I'm also working with stuttering and cluttering clients right now in the clinic, and I actually really, really like it. So definitely not what I thought I'd be interested in, but something. Hi, I'm Mel. I use she, her pronouns. I'm originally from New Mexico, Nevada, so half and half of both. I went to Northwestern University for my undergrad, right outside of Chicago, and I came into the field open to everything. I'm still open to everything. I see myself doing early prevention home health stuff. But I currently am in the brain injury concussion clinic and I'm loving that.
Aaron?
Hi, can you all hear me okay? Perfect. My name is Erin. I am from Klamath Falls, Oregon, and I did my undergrad at U of O, but I'm currently studying audiology at Idaho State University in Pocatello, Idaho. And I do miss U of O a lot. I'm sad to not be there right now, but um, I think I can see myself ideally working with adults. I really like vestibular and like balance assessment and treatment, but I'm also working with a lot of cochlear implant patients this semester, which like I had no experience in before, and that's been really interesting. So, yeah.
Thank you all so much for introducing yourselves. Our first pre-prepared question, please feel free, raise your hands. What were the top three criteria that were most important to you when you were deciding where to apply to grad school? And anybody can answer these.
I'll start with the microphone. My top three criteria for me, I'm a first gen low-income student, so financial well-being was my first and most important criteria. I'm also from a culturally diverse background, and so when I was looking at schools, I made sure to look at their mission statement and to see how much they valued that kind of stuff. To see if there was pre-established groups that I can join, affinity groups, things like that. And then number three was I kind of wanted to change of pace. So while I applied to my undergrad university, I also wanted to expand elsewhere. And Oregon is closer to my family in Oregon.
I can follow up. I really only had two big ones, because I knew that I wanted to go somewhere else other than because I was born and raised there. I guess not in California, just out of San Diego. So mine was the location and the fact that I had some kind of family nearby, just because that's important to me. Like I'm a huge family person. My sister goes to Oregon State. And so it's been nice having her nearby. So that was really important. And also like the support and the staff. So at least my personal experience, I met a lot of staff members through each of the programs that I applied to through whether it was interviews or I had just reached out. But I also did talk to Dr. Vanda before, well, in the application process. Sorry, I'm getting nervous. I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, so the support and the staff as well as the location were my two.
My top ones were location. I was also kind of looking to get a little bit away from home and just explore a bit more. Always wanted to live out of my state. And then also a big one was the quality of the program. Like Maine,
that was probably my top thing. So I love that you all had a bunch of clinics and just a really robust, well-rounded program, and really had involved professors too. And in addition, like Mel said, I looked at their values, their mission statement, and really what they stand for as a program and making sure that it aligns with mine. And then also cost of tuition. Money's a big factor, school is expensive. Yeah.
So, like I said, I did come here for my undergrad, and this was the only school that I applied to. So, I guess the three things that kept me here were just the community. I feel like the community in undergrad is strong because you have your little cohort, but I feel like it just gets even stronger in the grad program. Our cohort is like 29 people, and I like that it's small because we all know each other, and the relationships with the faculty here feel super meaningful. Like all of them want the best for you. I yesterday like emailed my supervisor. It's like it's super last minute, but can you meet? She was like, yeah, let's meet in 2 hours. So they're super responsive, and Sadie and I were talking about this, but our supervisor, one of them specifically, talked about how much our success in setting us up for success matters to her, and that just made me feel like I made the right choice. That the faculty really, really care about you and your success here.
Hi, I'm a University of Oregon 4+1 student, so it was kind of like, I'm not bound to Oregon, but it was kind of just like, okay, yeah, financially, this is the best decision. I'm able to save money on tuition, and I was thinking about like longevity of where I wanted to live in the future, when applying here. So it was just kind of like, yeah, Oregon sounds super interesting. And then having an on-campus clinic is really nice, because I know a lot of schools, like you have to walk a little towards the clinic, but it's just like right there, and it's nice when you have sessions. Hey, we have to switch up your schedule, like, can you do this instead? So it's really great when we go straight from class to maybe prepping sessions. Just having that right there, not having to venture too far was just super important to me.
Erin?
I think I've heard a lot of these said already, but location and cost were two that were really important to me, and something that really helped me narrow down schools was using the Western Regional Graduate Exchange. So that is like a group of schools that will all offer you in-state tuition. So I'm able to get in-state here even though I'm an out-of-state student. Um, and another thing that was really important to me was cohort size. So there are only 6 other people in my cohort here. So there's more access to like resources and opportunities because I don't have to, compete with, a cohort of a ton of people. So I'm able to have, like Ellie was saying, those really good relationships with professors. And the school itself is also a lot smaller here than U of O, but I'm also really enjoying that. And I would also say lastly, like, I don't think the rankings of schools are necessarily important when you're deciding where to apply. But yeah.
Thank you. Oh, yes.
Oh, sorry. When you were saying that you were reaching out to people or staff and faculty in the application process, what were some main things that you would ask them to kind of build a relationship that early?
It's funny that you asked that because I asked this at my NSSLHA Grad panel last year. I was like, what do I talk about? Like, I don't have any questions. Like, I can read everything. Honestly, I would literally make up questions. Okay, it sounds really dumb now that I say that out loud. But I would just email because honestly, like you put yourself out there, now they know your name. And then you start talking to them and now they know, oh, like she wants to chat with me, or oh, she's really open and she's like putting herself out there like that. I mean, in my opinion, it's good. But anything and everything, if you have a question about like for current grad students, or how would you rate this, how would you rate that, what would you want to tell? I mean, I asked a lot of these questions in the It's like, oh, but really anything that you can think of, if there's a school that you're like, I kind of am curious about this, email it, send it to their program director, whoever it may be, whoever you get it with, just put yourself out there as curious.
Sorry, I just had another idea. I did that because I was really anxious about it, but I did hear from a lot of people that if you have a really high interest in like a niche in the field, finding a professor that teaches at a university and then reaching out to them, easy to find, and ask some questions, because I'm sure they're researching that much about it. They love talking about it. Yeah. And you can even like say statement of purpose, like, oh yeah, and I really like a lot of times there's a, oh, why do you want to go here? Oh, I talked to this professor and really interested in this aspect. I would love to learn with them. Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm late. But I'm committed. Oh, so I'm Camila. I'm from San Diego, California, and my undergrad, Cal State San Marcos. I think I should go. I have a wide range of interest in this field. I think I would stick to swallowing and head and neck cancer right now. Early prevention is also really interesting. And I am a research student, so if you have any questions on this too. Okay.
Okay, what advice do you wish you had known before, like when you were applying to grad school?
Okay, no questions are dumb questions. Like if you can ask anything and everything to somebody else, just do it. Like you're gonna be so much better off kind of just knowing information rather than not knowing, because it's your first time doing this. Like, even though if you apply to college and you apply to other schools, it's not the same thing. And so everyone wants to help, professors want to help, and so be like, hey, you take a risk and ask the question.
I agree with that, sorry, for applying, I would say it's really important to make those connections with faculty now, not just for letters of recommendation. I feel like sometimes people get the wrong idea in their head. That's like, I need to become close with this professor so they can write me a letter of rec. And I feel like the letter of rec is just like another layer. Like I have professors who have written me a letter of rec, and sometimes I forget just because I value the relationship that I have with them. And yeah, I feel like asking about those letters of rec early too is really important because your professors are really busy. Asking them early, and also in my emails, when I ask or in the conversations, I make sure to tell them like, I feel like I showed who I was as a student, but more importantly, I feel like they knew me as a person. And honestly, like you can be a straight A student, but you can be a bad person. And I think that like, if you are not a good person, this is just not the right field for you. So making sure that you have people who can speak to both facets of your identity.
I didn't even think about writing down earlier the letter of rec, but yeah, definitely like you said, reaching out to your professors early on. And I saw a lot of my friends unfortunately run into the issue of like asking a professor after class randomly one day and then emailing them a couple months later, and then the professor's going, oh, sorry, I didn't remember that. I didn't have you on my list. I don't know if I can still write you a letter of rec. So when you reach out to professors, email it. So you have a trail, paper trail, and or digital trail. Professors have a lot of things going on. So that'll help them. Yeah, and yeah, giving your deadline, and then whoever you ask might give you like a list of things that they want from you. So mine typically asked for like obviously, they like know my name, my letter of intent, just so they know a little bit more about why you want to be in the field and they can speak more to your personal experiences and interests. And then some of them wanted like my grades that I got in the classes. Anyways, ask them what they want. It helps because then they can make it more personal to you. Yeah, and definitely asking early too, because they have a lot of these to write. And then I also wrote earlier, I really would recommend applying to quite a, not, I would say like 7 to 9 schools. Just because of competitive nature of our field. I know like especially for me and coming from SoCal and applying to a lot of Cal states, there's about 400 less people applying to schools. Yeah. I went the political negative comment stuff in Asha, but there's a lot of people applying to these, and it's really tough when everybody's really good and has really good grades. So put your what's the right word? Put yourself out there as much as you can, and don't be too hard on yourself. But apply to this.
Okay, so to come back up from that, I was actually gonna come at you with the give yourself grace because this is your first time doing it, and there's not a lot of people that are holding your hand, walking you through this. So give yourself a little bit of grace. And if this does ease any nerves, I wish this had been told to me in my undergrad. Your grades are not everything. The person you are is everything. So whether that be by building up your experiences, really talking, you have, oh yeah, that's another thing, you have to get so comfortable with talking yourself up. Be like, yeah, I am that good. Like, just get used to it because it is so uncomfortable writing it, and your professors will tell you they want to know how good of a student you are. They want to know what you're good at. They want to know your strengths. They want to know how you want to grow and learn and build on who you are as a person and as a future clinician. So yes, it is important to study and get the best grades you can, but that is not everything. And so try to capitalize on your strengths, whatever it may be to each individual you are, capitalize on that. So yeah.
Okay, I have quite a few thoughts about this. I heard some gasps when Rachel said 7 to 9, but I'm going to echo that. My undergraduate advisor told me 6 to 8 is recommended, so I applied to 6. While also acknowledging that applications are expensive to apply to, so do what you can to be realistic. But going along with that, I think what I wish I knew was to really do research on where you want to apply to in a very realistic sense before you go through all of that effort. So for example, I applied to Pittsburgh and I didn't find out until I got into Pittsburgh that they don't consider you for financial aid at all until you commit to that university. And so for me, that was very risky. And I was like, well, I wish I never put forth all of that effort because I knew I was never going to commit without knowing anything about financial aid. And so you can find these things out about the schools, but you have to do research and you have to ask. Another thing following the question about how to reach out to professors and like just people in the program in general, if you're nervous about it, it's understandable. And so one thing that I did is I reached out to program advisors and I asked them to connect me with a current graduate student. And who they're going to connect you with is also going to be connected with them. And so I was able to meet on Zoom with someone who's like early on in the process. And I talked to first years and second years from multiple different schools. I talked to researchers at different schools, just hearing about all the different opportunities that were available. And they're able to relay that information and advocate for you because that's what they're there to do. And so if you're ever nervous about being like, I want to talk to the program director, ask who they want to refer you to, and they're going to give you someone. As far as applications, I would say start early. I know everybody says that, but being very intentional about that. And so one thing that I did to make the process a little bit easier is I was very hyper organized about it, and I gave myself deadlines, ones that were realistic, but also allowed me enough room to get multiple rounds of revisions and have people look over what I was doing. And I think building on the making meaningful connections with people, the people, like the faculty and people that care about you and know you as people, they want to see you succeed and are usually more than happy if you ask them with enough time to go through and help you tailor your language to what they know people are looking for. And so advocate for yourself and ask for help because people are there to help you. Yeah.
Is this like this senior youth in the program?
Not all ages,
All.
but a lot of seniors in the room. So.
I'm who so yeah, after undergrad. I work on an advantage, but I was a probably working fellow research students as a program. Then they started me on my personal statements. There's an intent in June, even though the applications didn't start until. And through that, it was a lot of advocacy for myself to meet people. I don't appreciate the work that I didn't talk to the director. But at specific universities, specifically because Dr. Deanna is bilingual, and for me that was really important. As a Mexican American woman, I wanted to go to a program that really emphasized that. And I knew if I went somewhere in California for teaching a predominant white, I wasn't going to get that same thing. So really, doing your research on the school, what they offer, and what the professors do, and feels like that's faculty reach. They have their email, even the phone number. But yeah, definitely start early. Reach out, don't be afraid. Tell everyone you pay a lot of money to go to school. It's not good, geez. You pay a lot of money to go to school, you pay a lot of money for professors to teach you, but also to hear you. Even if it's not at your school, you still are investing in this and they want to invest in it as much as you want. So put yourself out there, be brave, go talk to them. And the more they know you and them, you can create those connections about carry through your program and write a letter of recommendation, but those are your colleagues too. So you really do have to take that into consideration. And CDS SOP is a relatively small field. So you're you are. Yeah, I know your resume sticks with me. Essentially. That's what I really see. Of course, this could go to conventions and stuff like that. So yeah, be brave. Be brave. You are gonna face a lot of rejection. It's okay. That life is not all sunshine and rainbows. And I also did apply to the sevens for starting. It's expensive, but it's worth it. If I could have person. I'm sorry. It's true. My parents are big. But yeah, it's worth it because you're doing something. Shit. Whole thing is my food.
It's really short. I love this. Have we started applying yet?
Yes.
Applications? Okay, SIDCAS, give yourself at least a week before the deadline because it will send you emails. This is not done. This is not done. This went through wrong. Give yourself some time. Don't be me and wait until the last possible minute and then you're like panicking Christmas Eve because you have something due in 3 days and no one's going to be on their email for another 3 days. So give yourself some time and get it in early. I know it's hard, but drink the coffee, do what you need to do.
And then, Erin and Calissa, we'd like to hear from you, but first, Calissa, if you can introduce yourself with with where you go to school, your like home city and all of that, and what like area of audiology you're interested in.
Hi for joining us late. One of my classes ran late because we had presentations. So yeah, I'm Calissa. I'm a first year student in the audiology program at San Jose State University in California. I live right in the Bay Area, so it's a easy commute for me. I mean, it's relatively easy. It still takes 2.5 hours to commute, but it's okay. Um, I get to do what's called train work. I don't have to worry about doing homework. And I really want to do a pediatric clinical audiology, but I kind of been starting to be hooked into maybe working with adults, but we'll see. I'm only in my first year.
Thank you. And any tips, any advice for applying?
Ooh, I have to like write down like all of my answers because I knew I was gonna forget after presentation today. I would say when it comes to applying, the tips I would give would be kind of like what other people have already said already, is do your research on the school and the program. And also don't limit yourself to one. I know a few people who applied to one and somehow they got in. I'm just like, I would have panicked if I only had done one school. So allow yourself more opportunities applying to more schools, but definitely do your research. Um, what else did I write? My brain is so fried today. I'm so sorry, guys.
Don't worry.
And also, I would say one other thing I wish I knew before applying was having a story, whether it includes personal experiences of yourself or other people's experiences or new experiences, that was totally okay, as to why you want to go into the field of either SLP or audiology is super crucial and super important because that is one of the main questions that you get asked in your interview. So having kind of just like that little backstory about yourself and what made you interested in the field and why it is that you want to go into there is really, really important. So that would also do that. And kind of my last little point, I also wish I knew that I could have emailed the schools ahead of time in my interviews and for the applications and everything, because a lot of the time I got thrown off by some of the questions, and then afterwards they were like, "You totally could have emailed us." So you always email the school or the program for the questions they might ask you, and worst comes to worst, they say, no, we want it to be kind of a surprise, but they are not offended. I think I hit the point.
I think advice that I would give myself if I had to do it again is just like at some point you just have to submit it. Like I spent months and months sweating over those personal statements. Oh my gosh, it was terrible. And I think it doesn't have to be perfect down to every last tiny word. Like I think at some point you know what you know and you've presented yourself the best way that you can and you just have to go for it. So I think that's my main advice that hasn't already been said.
Thank
I
you.
guess oh, could I add another thing? Okay. I would say when it comes to advice, another thing I would have told myself, and I would definitely want to make sure you guys know when it comes to the deadlines, it might help you, it might not. I know it helped me, but keeping a physical planner, constantly checking SIDCAST because the SIDCAST does have the deadlines on there, but then also referring to the program itself. If you check the program itself in terms of deadlines, that was super, super helpful. Um, but I do wish I had a little bit more of a better organization like system when it came to the deadline because quite a few of them I was just like, oh, you know what, I'm just gonna do it all at the same time, call it a day. And I wish I allowed myself more time and spaced it out because some of my programs didn't accept, weren't expecting stuff until like halfway through January. So I wish I kind of gave myself a little bit more time.
Thank you. Okay, we have another question. What internships, volunteering, jobs, and observations did you do before grad school?
I feel like sometimes I slid under the radar with this because I have zero externship, like little opportunities like that, on my resume.
this is really biased, do research. I'm not kidding. That is something extra and really beneficial. It's not that it gave me, like an out for not doing the observation hour stuff, other than the 25 guided. But it was something that kind of on your CV or student resume, they see that and say, wow, this student is really dedicated. That's what the feedback that I received from the schools that I applied to. Still do that, say no, but I never get with the so I'll guarantee. I did try like to look for those little things. Maybe I'm coming in and observe. But definitely do research. That's my 5 tips. Thanks. We need more researchers. Thank you.
My number one piece of advice with extracurriculars and stuff when you're putting them in your applications is that you don't have to tell them everything you've ever done that relates to the field of speech language development or audiology. I was in NSSLHA and I talked about it very minimally because I wasn't as involved as a lot of other people that have meaningful experiences in NSSLHA. One of the things I talked a lot about was I was the co-chair of a powwow at Native American, and I created a powwow at my university and was a part of the first one. And I talked about how that applied to me as a grad student if they were to accept me. So I talked about that experience and how I was able to work intercollaboratively and I built leadership skills and all sorts of things, and I was able to apply it, and it wasn't related to the field I was pursuing. Also, as far as what I did, I also only had 25 observation hours, but I did 4 years. I'm still currently working for a research lab that's with autistic children and children with hearing loss. Lots of research, yeah. But I just think it's what you take out of the experience and how you're able to meaningfully apply it. Because you can have 2 very, very meaningful things and build your personal statements around that and how, one, it's impacted you, what you've learned, but also how you would apply that as a graduate student and a future clinician or practitioner. And that's a lot more meaningful than having 50 different things that you've done that you had really shallow experiences in that you just think you should have done in order to get into grad school. And so that was the number one piece of advice from people like my mentors and stuff when they were editing, and saying like, oh, it doesn't seem like you actually did that much here. Like you can cut it, because they don't care just because you wanted to try and say, oh, I did this volunteering experience or whatever else. So really reflect now about what you've learned from the things that you've already done. And then if you're like, oh, now it feels like there's a gap there, then build a space versus trying to do as much as possible right now. Even take something that you're currently doing and build upon.
So I kind of have an interesting take on this because prior to being an undergrad for speech and language pathology, I was a child development major. And through that was a reading intervention major for 2 years. And so my biggest thing, like before applying to grad school, even through the process, was getting experience in like a diverse range of settings. And so I worked with adults with autism. I also worked with I did observation hours in a this, and I spent a lot of the time in hospital setting, speech rehab unit. I did in a school. And so for me, it was really important to get that like wide range of setting experiences. And I was able to talk about that. But all in all, kind of tagging on to what Mel said, they want to know you as a person. We get people that are applying to these programs at all different points in their life, all different ages. And some people, this might even be their second career. They might have been a businessman or businesswoman for part of their life. That's what they might have their first degree in. And so they talk about something from that and kind of like the impact to their life and what they've learned and how it's created them as a person. And like all in all, these programs want to know you as people. It's much more beyond speech, is I guess what I'm trying to get across. So like, if you can get a wide range of experiences, great, that's awesome, that's amazing, that's wonderful, talk about that definitely, because I think that's really cool and really important. But they want to know you as people, so.
I had kind of a wide range of experiences. I volunteered at a local hospital, cares, in Long Beach once a week in the adult rehab facility and inpatient. I would really highly recommend it. I did it because my roommate was doing it, and she was like, "This is a good experience, do this." So I definitely recommend reaching out to your local hospitals, and even a lot of times on the websites, they'll have sections for volunteer applications. Super simple, and I wrote about it a ton in my application, and my supervisor loved me, so she wrote me a letter of rec. That was really good. It's pain. Anyways, and then I also at Cal State Long Beach, they had a SLPA internship thing that we could apply to as an additional course added on, which I applied to, and I got, so I did it in a private practice, primarily with autism of all ages. So it was really good to get a wide range of experience, all the way from preschool all the way to young adults, and doing social skills. So, kind of like Ellie said, I really tried to get a wide range of experiences when I could, just so that one, like, even before the hospital, it was completely out of my mind to even go anywhere near the hospitals as an SLP. I was really focused on peds, but it really opened my eyes to it. So get out there and take the risks of getting experience while it's a little bit lower stakes. Yeah, I would do that. And then I also was very involved in my school. I added a bunch of stuff about being a vice president of my sorority for 2 years and started a club pickleball team, whatever, at my school too. So anyways, bringing in your like personal interests and how I used that as like a leadership experience. I think it also showed how much I value community, and I started the club pickleball team because I really loved this thing and nobody had it on campus. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start it. So definitely showing who you are as a person and how you, I think Ellie was, or somebody said it, how do you bring even extracurricular activities that aren't related to the field, bring in very valuable skills, and it shows who you are as a person and that you're well-rounded.
I'm gonna kind of like build off what Mel was saying, that if you have the opportunities to, volunteer at these places and get a wide range of experiences, like that's great, but don't just seek those out because you think it's gonna look good. I feel like I'm different than everyone else. I had no volunteer experience in any kind of speech setting, before I applied to grad school because I was super dedicated. I worked at a preschool all throughout my undergrad, and that was like where my passion was. And I wasn't willing to give any of that up to, seek out these amazing opportunities, which obviously would have enriched it. But that's like the main thing that I talked about in my personal statement, was just how much I love that I've been working there for 4 years. It meant so much to me to see the change in the kids over the years, going from babies to pre-K. So yeah, just focusing on the why behind what you're doing and how you're gonna apply that. Like, I think you were saying it, like, I then could say, like, I had to communicate with not just the kids, but their parents and families, with the other staff at my work, whether it be like my higher ups or the fellow student staff. It's how you apply those skills. And yeah, so I guess my bottom line is, don't just take the opportunities you think you need to take and disregard what you are passionate about and what matters to you in that moment.
I think just choose what you're passionate about, even if it's not a lot. I tend to have a rule of 3. So senior year, it's like, oh, I'm going to work, like, I'm going to work, make some money, help me for grad school that way. I was initial vice president. excited about this club. And I did something fun. I did my, like, I was part of the student union. That was just a personal club that gave me an affinity group to be with. And so I think those experiences really kind of added to who I was and gave me an opportunity to explore kind of all facets. So choose like maybe a little less, but stuff you're super interested in and can go up in. And also do not be afraid to ask the professors. Be like, hey, can I shadow you? Or do you know somebody out of the community? Tara brought in a really good guest speaker last year. I was able to shadow her and her like private practice for a while. So taking those opportunities and just being like, wait, that sounds super interesting. Maybe I want to do that. Just choosing activities you really like.
Erin or Calissa, do you guys have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I really liked what I think Sydney said about not doing too much. I definitely made that mistake last year. I felt really overloaded as well as doing grad school applications, and even though all of the things I was working on were really important to me, I couldn't give 100% to all of them. So I would say knowing what's most important to you. And I didn't do a lot of shadowing or observation hours in my undergrad since it's not required for audiology, but now that I'm in grad school, I'm pulling a lot from what I learned when I was shadowing and observing, and I volunteered doing hearing screenings. So it's like now that I'm here, those experiences have made me have given me a reference to what I'm learning now. So those are also valuable, but again, they aren't the end all be all, I guess.
I do see what everyone has said. I'm like, how do I make it not sound not repetitive? Um, I would say for me, it was definitely kind of just picking on like what it was I wanted to talk about when it came to my personal experiences. I did quite a bit of observation hours, but I felt like I couldn't really talk about them too much because I was still obviously as a student and then being officers of different clubs like NSSLHA last year, I was like handling a lot and so my plate got overflowed. And so when it came to really talking about my experience, I talked about like my personal experience of like going to see an audiologist every year since pretty much I was little. And they seem to have really banked on that. And I mean, even now, like in classes, like sometimes they'll like look at me and be like, hey, in your experience, was it like this or this? And I've been able to kind of help out, not only just my professors, but just my little cohort, with all of those. And yeah, I would just say it kind of depends on where your experiences have come from, whether it's working with kids or if you volunteered at a local hospital or wherever it is. It really does depend and it's totally up to you. Like it doesn't have to be like one thing, this is it, like you gotta do this. It literally is free range.
One little comment is I understand that this is really competitive. Um, and obviously, unfortunately, we're competing against each other, but I don't think it needs to be an environment where it feels kind of hostile. I think a lot of the time we do have to be kind of some classmates, like maybe we will go to this, or can we do this together or share resources? That's a really good, should be the right word, to have, because it shows the kind of person that you are. Yeah, I understand, we all want that one spot out of the 32, but you're still friends, still colleagues. This is still the people you're gonna be with anyways, one way or another. So don't let that influence how you are doing this, because it is hard, it is scary, it's challenging. But we like people be nice to each other and just kind of leave kindness. I know in my undergrad, towards the end, it got really awesome. You could tell there was tension. And for me, it was a little bit odd. We're all here, we're all trying, this is hard for all of us. Why do we need to not share a resource or not say, hey, I did this, maybe it'll help you, something like that. And also use your real life experiences too. I think on my resume, I literally put that I worked at Home Depot, and that that helped me because like time management skills or computer skills. Those real world things also apply to grad school. It's all intertwined, whether we realize it or not. So you're in a grocery store, you leave with kindness, you have to be kind to the people, you're a hostess or something like that. Those things are also making you unique on application, not just your clubs, your side hustles or like little things like that.
I have, sorry. I was gonna say I have a follow-up comment to that comment, and that's, I went to an undergrad with a very competitive group of people, and, if you find yourself stuck in that, it's something you're gonna have to unlearn, because once you get to grad school, we are all constantly collaborating. It's kind of like you are required to do this to be successful in the field. You spend all of your time together. And if you're stuck in the mindset of like, okay, but I think I should have this opportunity and I don't want anybody else to know about it, you're really going to set yourself up for failure when you get into the field that prioritizes collaboration. Like we are supposed to be working alongside audiologists and OTs and PTs and everybody. And if you are stuck in the mindset of, well, it's me, then you're going to be suffering when you get to grad school and you don't have the ability to make meaningful connections with your cohort.
I think that you would said that you'd only applied to one school. And so I was curious, like, what made you do that and like how concerned were you with maybe like did you have a plan to get accepted?
So I think one reason why I only applied here was because it's comfortable, you know, like you're already in it in some way, like you already know the faculty, to some extent you'll get to know more of them later. I just really like the community here. That's something I wrote about in my application was I loved the community here. I talked about this earlier, faculty here really care about you and you matter to them as a student, but also as an individual. So I only applied here. Also, I have my dad's whole family lives here, so that was nice for me. I don't think I was ready to be apart from my little cousins because they're growing up. And my backup plan, I didn't really think about that. It was just like these few months where I was just like checking my email, being like, am I gonna have to figure something else out? Or no, like I was at work when I got the email and we were at the soccer fields with the kids and I told my teacher, like the lead teacher was like, God, I just got like the email and she was like, are you gonna need to leave for the day? And I was like, no. And then when I got in, it's kind of just that like breath of fresh air. But I think if I hadn't gotten in, I was going to just keep doing what I was doing, be a preschool teacher and then apply again. And yeah, I feel like there's no harm in applying again. I feel like you really cut yourself off if you're like, well, if I don't get in, then I'm never gonna apply again. Like someone was saying, there's people of all ages and all, you know, backgrounds in our cohort. And just because you wait 5 years to apply and you want to build, you know, more of your skill set, that doesn't make you any less than the people who came straight from undergrad. Okay, Cindy does.
My path was kind of different to begin with. This freshman year, you had an opportunity to apply for the 4+1 program. And I was like, this is the best thing ever. Might as well. And so kind of choosing one thing. You are not bound again, not bound to this program. No one's forcing you to stay. It just gave me a chance to really find community and be like, this is the community I really want and I can build it. There was, yeah, I didn't want to leave.
Okay. We've got one last question. No pressure, no pressure.
Were any of you SLPAs between grad school or undergrad, grad school, or do you know anyone that went through that process? I'm thinking about it and I know other people that are really trying to get the 100 hours before and ASHA has no information about how to do that, so I was just wondering if you guys had any insight.
I only know of one person who was an SLPA beforehand, and I don't know if this is what you're getting at, but I don't think like being an SLPA or not makes you any less or any more qualified. It's just more experience under your belt. I kind of feel like with the competition thing, like once you enter grad school, like Dr. Deanna talks about this a lot, which I love, that like you're here, like stop stressing. You're already here. You don't need to compete with your peers. Do your best. Try, what you want to do. But I think we had a few people in our undergrad cohort who wanted to go on to be SLPAs, and it's just another avenue in, more experience, and both are valid professions.
I kind of mentioned it earlier, but I did at my undergrad a SLHA internship. So I did do all of the 100 and more hours. So I required for that. So I did technically get all the credentials, but my backup plan was to do SLHA for a year if I didn't get into any of the grad schools. So I kind of, but anyways, but I do know some SLHAs that are again next year. It's just another resume builder, and it's I actually see it really as a benefit too.
No, go for it. I like to add things to my food, so if any of you do need any help or anything, I'm always happy to share resources, so I'd like to, you could put my email, for me, what's here. All of us, I guess, because we've been there, we know how hard it is, a lot of tears, a lot of simply sites, and we're a community at the end of the day, and you get there, get it next year, or they can look over your journey, and we're so committed. That's really important. They don't have, so, and even if you see me walking, you talk to me, you also want to do her face.
I was gonna say also when we're offering that, we really do need it. I was, and when I was undergrad and I went to the panel, I was nervous to reach out, but I really do mean it. And I posted one TikTok one time, and I had a bunch of people reach out to me about questions related to SLP, and like I went through and I helped them, and I read people's personal statements, and I like different stuff. But it's just like I had people in my corner who were willing to help me, and if I didn't have them to help me, I do not think I would be where I was. And so I think most, if I can assume that all of the people in our cohort feel similarly, and we feel very privileged to be where we're at, and we want to share the wealth and the things that we've learned from going through that process. So ask.
I was gonna say, don't be nervous to reach out. Yeah, seriously, stop us if you need, you have our emails at this go, please, like I used to all of these. Yeah, we're in high school all the time, we're here Monday through Sunday, all day. But yeah, please do reach out, we're more than happy to help and answer any questions that we can, and if we can't, then we'll help point you in the right direction. So yeah.
Also, if anything resonated with you and you were talking to like each of us for that one thing, each of us have a very different perspective. So like reach out to the one person or multiple people who you kind of like, oh, like maybe there's a lot of research, or like there's a lot of SLPA and there's a lot of musical training and stuff.
Thank you guys so much for coming and sharing your experiences. Let's clap, guys.
I took a big try at the moment. I'm here now. It's time. Challenge yourself. Go out there. Sport. This is what you're young.
And thank you to our online friends as well. We're so grateful that you came.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, and good luck with applications.
Yeah, good luck with applications, everyone, and hopefully you guys, this last 3 weeks of the term, and also sorry for joining in late. I would have been happy to answer more questions if the presentation didn't go on for so long.
Thank you guys. Oh my God.
Yes.
We love you
I
guys.
miss you.
Good to see you.
You guys so much. You did it. That was a good trip. I think I counted 30. Yes. I'm right. The attendance was not working, so I did. Thank you for doing this. Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Bike and sludge was like, oh, he does it all the time. And I was like, okay, yeah, I don't know. I don't ride a bike, so.
It's like commodity, it's not like a.
Okay, you just like walk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm sorry, I'm also against it. Sorry. Like, I just tie out of that.
That's You're like, oops.
Yeah, like honestly. Yeah, totally. Yeah, of course. You know.
Getting your time.
Well, I got
rushing to get to that personally. So I'm